of Buddha nature, because I was talking to this guy, chatting with him, and it sounds like, oh, just let stop being busy, and then your Buddha nature will show up. Is and I wonder if this Buddha nature just pure love or something like that? Could there is the Buddha nature a kind of mind? Well, the definition of Buddha nature is something like it's our potential to become a Buddha, to become enlightened, to become loving, or something like that. So is that something that's in everyone, and how do we bring it about? By stop being busy, simply
Jaro, Jaro,
realize.
the Buddha nature, you're in it. The form is the Buddha. That's why you have the term many reincarnation. It wasn't a person. It's everybody. The body is it's the intelligent. That's the Buddha. I'm just using a word. You can call it a meat sack if you want. You can call it a form. You go into the Buddha nature. In this case, you weren't born and you weren't inside in the womb. You jump into it after. Hence good and evil. See, what you do, Jaro, is if you were going to help a woman cross the street, I don't care what age she is, crossing the street, you've chosen to get off the fence. So now why are you being hypocritical? You're being clever. The only people that have to deal with the shadow self is when you're actually done something in the light, in thoughts. I want to do one, so do the other. You got to balance yourself. Now, you can say, but I don't want to do what you call bad or evil. Then don't do what's good. Be the observer of those things. You don't go around causing all the chaos in the world, but you're hearing it. Now, you can have the concept of good and evil because that's in thoughts. It's not in action. That's after. Person has a good thought and then they do it. Person has an evil thought, then they do it. Now, I'm being a little bit clever because evil just, it means material. So when you're doing something in action, that's what's evil. That's karma. And you'll keep doing it regardless of what you perceive of it. You just take it for granted every time you take thousands of steps. Do you keep a conscious awareness of every step? No, but your Buddha nature does. When you breathe all the time, do you count how many times you breathe a day? No. The ego, the ongoing program has never truly been engaged. It does very simple tasks. And the rest of it, then we wonder like a Siri. That's this high-tech computer because a part of us can relate to it. We've just never worked collectively within oneself. Forget about the rest of the world. I don't see anything the way Joel does it. And if I do, it's through my perceptions, not his. Same with you, Gyro. I'm just giving myself the illusion, oh, we must agree. I said, no, I don't see the sun through Gyro's eyes. If anything else, I would have to lean more towards maybe the sound that I'm hearing. I don't see the word sun. That's why it's called an illusion. It's a play. You don't see the script that's being written on an unknown part. Siri doesn't see the program that's being written on her. And if it had that kind of intelligence, it would be even more advanced than us on an individual basis, let alone a group basis. But it's our emotion that get caught up in it. Well, Dom, I think that's wrong. What do you mean it's wrong? Well, it's wrong to steal. Okay, so you're trying to explain to me it's wrong to steal, but there's a lot of people out there that earn lots of money from the concept of stealing from others. Well, but it's still wrong. I said, so then are we going to call that laundering then? You're laundering the ideal? You figure if I have dirty clothes, if I wash it enough times, I'm going to get the dirt off the fiber of it, or the fact that I actually harmed another human being when I was wearing those clothes. I'm just wiping off the blood off the shirt, but I still know that I harmed that person. No different, I still do remember that I actually was nice to that person. So what's the details? Most people don't want to do that. That's why they're lazy. They'll do the reacting part, but they'll never spend time thinking, so what is the meats to what you did and why you did that kind deed, let alone that bad deed or that evil deed? Well, I don't know. I said, then you're lazy. You're trying to react to a situation where we're trying to reproduce something. This is why we use math. We want to be able to double check or triple check something. But most of us are being conditioned. This is the way we do it. We don't question it. I said, That's dumb people talk. I don't care how old they are, how strong they are physically, how clever they are, that's still stupid talk. Because it does not serve me, let alone if there was a child beside me or an elderly over there. What it does is it confuses us, and then we start playing this game of having rulers over us externally opposed to internally. This is why when you use the word enlightenment or enjoyment, you ask a person, do you spell it with an E or with an I? I spell it with an E. So you chase your enjoyment and your enlightenment externally. That's why unconsciously you're using an E. You start using an I, then you start using words like intuitive, insight, intelligent. That's why when you ask questions, Gyro, out loud, guess who's the one that's supposed to seek for that question, the response to that question, not the answer, from within. I'm just a voice talking out loud, Gyro. That's all I am. Doesn't matter how mad I get, I'm getting mad at me, not you. You're insignificant to me, Gyro, because I don't know how you were when you were a baby, when you're 6 months old, 12 months old. You're the only person that's been in there. Now, you might have had people taking responsibility for you, and I would never take responsibility for you. That's not my job. Now, somebody will say, but I'm a teacher. No, your job is to earn money. You're not responsible. Anytime you ever see a teacher in a classroom and in front of a whole bunch of students, they're not their student. He's his own student. The rest of the people are just hearing him. They might be there to get a mark. They might be there because they're bored. They want to keep busy, do some homework, whatever. But the teacher-student relationship, if anything, is going to be inside, not outside. That's why I tell people, who taught you how to breathe? Well, I don't know. So then you don't know what consciousness and prana and chi really is then. We don't see that unknown energy, the essence to things. You see the tree, but what's the essence to that? Where's the oxygen that feeds that thing? And it goes into the ground, goes into the water, goes into the clouds. Where is that essence? Well, we are too busy, but I want to see God. I said, you sense them all the time, or them, because you might find out, well, there's different gods that rule the planet. Yeah. What do you mean? Well, some rule the rivers. Some rule the buildings, some do the clouds. Do you think all the different isms that we have in the world are all ruled by one person? No, it's a whole bunch of parts. We call us humans, but it's parts. So next time you see a tree, you see like a field, you can see many rulers. There's people that do that types of rule, that those blades of grasses, the ones that do the trees, the clouds above us. There's different types of clouds, so there's different kinds of rules. Listen to what I'm saying. There's rulers and then there's rules. Most people just want to follow rulers, but they don't want to understand the rules. Then they settle for things like outcomes, hence settlement, government, entertainment, amusement. They want their mind to rule them, but they're not doing it correctly, in a sense that it has to be a back and forth. You meet an angel, question them. You see a demon, you question them. You meet a human, question them. Because you're questioning yourself first, and then you're questioning them, and then you're going to see the response, and then you go inwards, because you're not there to say, well, it's right or wrong. I'm just questioning it. What do you mean? So why did you help that lady across the street? Well, Dom, I don't want to tell you why I did that. Okay, so then if I went to a person that just killed a person, do you think he gave me the same response? Yes. So then what am I going to learn from that encounter? Where's the productivity in all of that? That's laziness. Well, I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions, but I'm not really going to know what he's really going to say. So I'm going to keep myself busy. Human busyness, human doing. How is that productive for the spirit? I don't know. I'm guessing at that point, Java. At that moment, I'm guessing. But I'm okay with yapping out loud, because once in a while, when I throw the fishing line out in the water, I will catch 1 or 2 fishes. And then I got to decide, do I keep it, kill it, eat it, or do I catch and release? You know, and most people, they want to say, well, Dom, why would I throw my fishing line out there if I'm not going to catch nothing? Because you're doing practice. And that's most people, Jaro. And most people live hundreds, 70, 80 years, doing nothing more than just being busy. I live in a building. I got to wake up early in the morning, get my coffee or my tea, have my lunch, do some workout, and then go down the elevator, go into my car, drive across the town, go into another parking lot, go up an elevator and sit in an office. If that's not a form of fucking insanity, what is? Now, they can use a lot of justification. Well, Dominic, I need the money. No, you don't. What do you mean? Well, that's not for me to question, but since you asked me, I'll say it in my tone of voice, because I don't want to explain to other people how they should live, but I'll say it in my way. You fucking idiot. Think about it for a second. You don't need money. Can you eat it? Well, no. Can you make a boat with it? Well, it wouldn't float that well. I said, so then who gave you the idea you need money? You might be able to use money to buy some of your needs or your wants, because you don't need a Ferrari unless you're going to live in it. And now it becomes a shelter. That's why I get upset, because I fucking hate explaining to other people what they should know for themselves. Doesn't mean they're going to have wisdom, but at least they should know. You should know how the American military works, Jaro, before you went in there. You should know how the political system works before you even cast your vote. The fact that most people cast their votes and they don't understand it, they'll spend more time not defending it or saying, oh, I no longer vote anymore. I no longer watch TV because I think TV just has nothing but useless stuff. I think, really, so you threw the baby with the bathwash. There's a lot of information, if you know have the ability to comprehend things, that's valuable in a TV as the person looking through a four squared thing called a phone. It's the same ideal. That person that was sharing to you the document about sudden death, why you don't think some people that take a vaccine is not going to harm them opposed to serve them good? Damn right it will. And the fact that most people wear a mask, do some studying, Jaro, and find out how diseases come to be. If you breathe with your nose, there's a filtering system. If you breathe through the mouth, there is no filtering system. That's why disease can come through the mouth. That's why when people smoke, they can get cancer. That's why when you eat foods that are probably not one cow, but a whole bunch of cows, and it wasn't killed with honor and all that, it goes through the mouth. Disease, it doesn't kill you, but it will put your body in disease, and then cancer cells will have to be activated. Oh, but cancer cells are wrong. No, cancers there are their last resort. Now, I could be way off here, Gerald. This could just be a social meeting where a bunch of guys get together and yip yap about, well, you know something, once in a while we talk about important things or things that can help us be better human beings. But more times than not, I want to talk about, oh, did you see the soccer game? Did you see the hockey game? Oh, did you see how the poor people in other parts of the world are living? Whatever the media feeds to you, you're going to parrot. They're not actually say, okay, I take some of that information and go inwards. How does that serve my immediate family, let alone my community? You know, because I could throw my heart out there and say, oh, those poor people in Saudi Arabia, or those poor people that live in the Himalayas. Really? Well, then what's that? What am I saying about me then? You know, a person that's homeless but has no debts, is he better off than a person that has a big house but they're in debt? It's a question for each individual person. Because some people will say, I'd rather have a really fancy looking house and dress really nice and be broke than look like a bum and have no attachments. So then how would you understand the Buddha then? How you understand the Buddha nature, Jaros, because all of that is the Buddha nature. Whether you're homeless, whether or not you're Donald Trump, whether or not you're Mother Teresa or you're Stalin, those are all Buddha nature. Nature is wild and untamed. And there's boundaries that are set on them called laws. So I'll give you an example of what a boundary would be. I want my kids to play in the backyard. I want them to be wild and free. Is it my responsibility to make sure I put a fence out there? Yes. Is it my responsibility to put a big piece of wood over top of a well? Yes. That's laws. I put that. The child doesn't need to know those laws. I'm there to protect the child, but it's not my responsibility to tell the child, say, well, protect yourself. Don't go further than that. No, it's my job to build the fence, because I know my child's at a point where it's not going to understand. I can't get beyond that. They'll probably try to get over the fence, but I design it so that they can't get over it. That's laws. That's why we have light, air, wind, and space. It's not what men call laws. That's just men being idiots again. Thank you. Now, whether or not that brings value to each individual person, then we can ask the question, okay, let's talk about what we call small talk. How does that bring value to everybody else? Or is it just to keep ourselves busy mentally? You know, we're going to go to the United Nations meeting. We're going to have some really important things, and Joel will show up with Da Vinci. Okay, Joel, I thought we were going to go be drinking and playing games later on in life. Well, I thought the whole thing at United Nations is a game. Then Joel would be standing correct by saying, well, then why not play Da Vinci? Why don't we just make each of those squares another country that we're going to rule over? And if you land on the dice 4, you now own Iran. There you go. You're not going to own it. That's the Gentiles. I think they can own things. You're going to get to rule over it. That's the game that they play with us. You can own a house, but yet who owns the land? Well, nobody owns the land. Who rules from it? That's the game they play with the Gentiles. That's what a jinn is, the Gentiles. People that are stupid, moronic, walking dead. They make fun of us on a regular basis, and we eat it up. There's no tomorrow. Oh, look at the Walking Dead. They're talking about you guys, including me. Now that opens the question, who are they? Who are those guys? Who are they?
And this morning, I was listening to the Dalai Lama and responding to to some research that some scientists in Japan were doing. And they're studying meditation, and they divide meditation into 2 kinds. There's the open monitoring meditation. You just kind of monitor what's happening, what's coming up in your mind or in your body. And then there's the focused meditation, where you focus on an object and an idea and things like that. And they do some experiments with that, and what's happening in the brain. Like if you do this kind of meditation, how does it affect your emotions? Like they're suggesting that if you do open monitoring meditation, then it maybe it reduces something in the brain that they say, oh, there's emotions going on. So they're discovering that when you do open monitoring meditation, that maybe certain emotions are reduced, things like that. And so they asked the Dalai Lama, what do you think about this? And the Dalai Lama says, oh well, maybe we should think of meditation in other ways, like there's analytical meditation where you actually think of say compassion, and look at it from different angles, and the purpose of that is to become familiar with compassion, and why is that beneficial, and then by thinking about it in different ways, then maybe it brings it up in us somehow. Maybe that's our Buddha nature coming up. If we meditate and become familiar with compassion, then after many years of meditating on compassion, then maybe we become naturally compassionate. I'm just paraphrasing.
You're being a parrot. You know, they're not ever asked the Dalai Lama. Dolly, good question, Dolly. You're talking about compassion. I never hear you talk about military. I wonder why. Why don't you talk about military? Because wouldn't you be encouraging a next generation to say, if I'm doing compassion, then why would I pick up gun onto my own human nature, on my own human Buddha nature? Well, because Dominic, I'm not here to sell war. Then Dolly, what are you here to sell? Dom, you're the few. Because war already, people usually, when I teach them to do compassion and it falls by the wayside because nobody gives me the substance to it, then eventually I'm going to be angry or I'm going to be very neutral. See, that's worse than compassion or people harming, because they're few in number. It's the people that's in the middle. Well, then, Dominic, I'm just going to keep busy. I'll pursue my career. I'll keep busy because I'm barely making ends meet. That's busyness. Dare not ever have that question with the Dalai Lama, and I would have that privately because I'd rip a hole in the moron. Now he could turn around and say, well, Dominic, who are you? I said, the question is, who are you? Because you're the one that spends time acknowledging yourself as the Dalai Lama. So isn't the onus more on you? I'm not going around selling books. I'm not the one that's on speeches. I'm not having other people parrot me. So now this is where the person says, is it a self journey? Well, if you become aware that we're all interconnected, it's only a self journey because most people have forgotten their ways or they don't want to. Even if they present it to them. Given the opportunity to give most people the opportunity to understand how to earn a whole bunch of money very easy and very quick, they would do it. Most people say no. I said, then why do you buy lottery tickets? Nah. You see, Jaro, I'm entertained by humanity, but I'm also disgusted in our behaviors, not in humanity in general. So the Buddha nature, it's a beautiful, beautiful technology. It's called the human body. But unfortunately, we use it for many things. This is why we're in the wonderful world of good and evil, spiritual and material, meaning that it could be used many different ways. Are we inherently good? Depending on what you're talking good. Are we inherently evil? Depends what you're talking about evil. Because we're using a language to describe it. Isn't the language we're using beautiful? Yes. Can it also be destructive? Yes. You can command somebody to shoot somebody else. You can also command somebody else to give them a hug. Well, Dominic, I would never give them a hug. Well, then why would you let somebody command you to shoot them too? Would it reveal what you're attached to? Can I be attached to people that I care about? Yes. Can I be attached to people that I hate? Yes. Can you have moments of those? Yes. So we all can experience those different emotions. So hearing the Dalai Lama talking about, well, you know something, show compassion. Dalai, shut the fuck up. Enough.
This 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 is a book I acquired yesterday.
Nice, nice.
It's called Uplifting Prayers. So maybe I could use it like this. I could go like a stack of cards, and I stop somewhere, and
Like
then
a
I
tarot
open,
card.
and then come up to then I come up to 2 pages. And see, there's a prayer in each page, and one of them says depression, and the other one says when weary. Oh,
Mhm.
so like the 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 prayer on depression goes like this: Holy Mother, Father God, divine loving light and heart of the universe, I humbly ask for your most blessed grace to lift the dark cloud I am under right now and
Mhm.
help me trust that things will improve soon, both in my heart and in my life. Please send in your angels to lift me out of my malaise and discontent and replace it with gratitude for everything in my life today and the energy to create a brighter tomorrow. Help me seek out and receive guidance from all true sources of support and healing
Mhm.
so that I may once again feel joy. Awaken my spirit to the full recognition of all the glorious things that surround me and the wonderful people in my life who love and appreciate me as I am. Enable me to release all beliefs and fears that cause me to remain demoralized. I pray, send in your angels to chase away my feelings of depression so that I might experience a renewed enthusiasm for life. I thank you in advance with my whole heart and soul for answering my prayer and healing my sadness. Amen.
Okay. So now, Jaro,
Nice.
I'll tell you what's behind that.
Mm.
Me and Jaro are going to go to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the mall to look for different gifts for different people. Jaro's going to go to the mall so he can look at all the gifts that other people can buy for him. That's a selfish human being that prays like that. Very
Mm.
selfish. Why? Because the angel that comes with depression is there to teach you something. But now you're asking another angel to come in there and say, oh, you know something, Dom. Is it possible you can, I'm going to pray for me. I want what I want for me. Help me be this. I've never heard you once talk about helping other people.
Mm.
That's a selfish prayer. Oh my God, my kids has got hit in a car. Oh God, can you save me? Wait a second here. Didn't we send you angels many times over to say, listen, your son's kind of told you he drives really quick. Shouldn't you have a conversation? Well, that's not my responsibility to tell him not to drive fast. Well, then why the fuck are you calling me now to ask you to save it? Jaro, burn that fucking book. Burn it. Because you know something? That's a selfish fucking endeavor. Oh, poor me. It's when you start praying for other souls and say, you know something? I don't know if I have enough for myself, but you know something? My last morsel, I'll give it to whoever you think needs it more than me. And if it happens to me, fine. If not, I'll give it to others. That whole speech that you did, whoever wrote that, tell her to fuck off. And then watch how she reacts. I can't believe it. I said, is that how you acknowledge that the unknown world works? Because you know something? There's beings out there that literally come here to treat you like shit, to teach you something, to show you who you really have become. Law of attraction. You're a selfish human being. Poor me. I want to be happy. Oh, you know, I'm only 6 foot tall. Is it possible you can give me another 5 more inches? So this way, when I show that sword over top of a person, I'll be more stronger than him. Oh, really? Look at you. And then you wonder why humans aren't called demons. Gerald, go inwards. Hear what that's the whole thing is. That's all about the me. Where's the upside down we there? Where is that? You know something? I hope my mother can be healthy. Forget about living longer, but be healthy in those moments that she's aware. All the other moments, she's just going to be asleep, so she doesn't need to know one way or the other. That's a gift. But most people, what they want is, well, nobody understands me. Have you put an effort to try to understand others? Well, no, because you're a selfish narcissist, you psychopathic piece of shit. Oh, but nobody's ever told me that I'm a piece of shit. I said, we all are. That's the given part. But occasionally we do flush it. Well, you know, Dom, so then I should help a homeless person. No, you should have a conversation with the homeless person because you can learn a lot from them. Who knows? That could be the Buddha. That could be Jesus. Comes in a different costume. Well, I thought that Jesus was supposed to come and he's supposed to be this rich person called the Dalai Lama. No, look at me, I'm so smart. No, you're clever. Because if you say you're smart, that makes you clever. Let other people determine whether or not you're smart or wise. I would laugh at anybody that actually said, Dominic, you know, it's like when people tell me, oh, Dominic, you come into the meetup, we're doing guided meditation. I walk away. I'm not here to be guided in how to meditate. That's me, Jaro. But then again, I'm not the kind of person that's going to work for the military and pick up a gun, let alone vote for somebody that doesn't tell me their character. And that's most people, Jaro. You're in good company. I'm in good company. It's not like as though I'm telling the human race something that's new. We're just not honest with the self. Forget about being honest with others, being honest with the self. Oh, could I harm another human being? Fuck, who's to say I haven't? Have I lied? Yes. Well, Dominic, I don't lie to people. I said, really? Do you try to get the most you can and not pay taxes? Well, yeah. I said, so who are you lying to? What do you mean? Well, do you understand how the system works? And regardless if you agree or disagree with the system, do you understand it? See, this is where people get caught up and say, well, I don't agree with taxes. It doesn't matter. You can say the same thing. You don't agree with speeding, but do you understand the rules? Yes. So now when you don't understand the rules or you don't want to obey by the rules, then we have to get people out there to enforce the rules. Yeah, but you're missing it. I don't fucking care if you agree or disagree, your likes or dislike. Is there rules out there? That's what you teach a child. I don't fucking care if you agree with me or disagree with me. Do you understand the rules? If you jump off a cliff, is there a good chance you could die? Forget about you will die. Is there a good chance? Yes. So fuck gravity. But you know the consequences and you know the rewards. Unfortunately, most people don't understand the rules. That's called a gentleman's game. We're going to play a game. We're going to understand the rules. We're not worried about the outcome. We're going to play the rules. And hopefully when the time comes, I can deal with whatever the outcome is. But most people say, well, Dominic, I'm only going to play the game if I already know it's going to favor me. Well, then you're not going to spend time understanding the rules. Constitution in America, Jaro, hear me clearly, was not set up for you. It says quite clearly, the big letters, we the people, and our prosperities. It has nothing to do with the American citizens or the slaves at all. Zero. So when you hear people talking about, but the Constitution, I said, you don't got a fucking clue unless you're the people. It's no different when you go on a plane. You have no rights when you're on a plane. That's a privilege. You have a car. That's a privilege. Why, Jaro, did you make your car? I'm just using you as an example, Jaro, because I don't care if you're the Dalai Lama or whatever. Did you make the car? No. Did you make the gas? No. So it's a privilege that the human race gets to use whatever's given to them. But you should at least try to understand it. If you can understand, listen to the word, understand who gives you that stuff. Now, you might not understand who literally gives it to you, but you can do critical thinking of who doesn't make it for you. It's not your mother, it's not your wife, not your sister, not me. I don't make those things. And when I say I make it, I didn't create the ideal of language. I use them. I use a car. I didn't make the car. When I tell people, do you see the alchemy of steel? They'll point to the metal. I said, that's not steel. That's a thing. Where is the alchemy of language? I only share this with you out loud and the crust be the way it's because I'm under the impression that you actually want to understand the Buddha. I don't go around talking to my buddies about this kind of shit because I realize most of them aren't seeking that. What they're interested, I want to make sure I make enough money so I can be retired. I want to make sure I have a nice car, which is fine. And I'll have those conversations with them. Oh, my team's winning in soccer. Okay, that's fine. My wife doesn't like me. I said, do you like her? What do you mean? You have to give before you receive. And if you only do nothing but giving, you're not going to understand receiving and vice versa. Yeah, but Dominic, but it's always good to receive. I said, when you're a child, like a baby, yes, you're dependent at that point. But now when you get older, you got to learn how to become interdependent. And if your parents don't teach you that, they failed you. That's why when I hear people say, my parents taught me to be independent, they failed you. Where are you independent in this world? Tell me, please. Well, I got a house. And how did it get made? And what product did you use? You're living in a vessel that's your house. Outside of that, you got to take your chance with nature. People can say, well, that's nature's kind. I was thinking, really? You think nature's all kind? Okay, so then why don't you live outside when it's a nice rainy day or when there's a storm? Do you see the balance of nature has constructive and destructive? Now, if you choose to live in Florida where there happen to be a hurricane, that's your responsibility. That's like telling somebody else, I don't like all the crime that's happening in my ghetto. You have a choice to leave. Unless you become aware of all your conditioning, you're not going to make that leap. And then you'll start keeping busy. Well, Dominic, I got to keep busy. I'll just build metal over my windows, so this way the kids won't at least break the windows. I said, okay, so you're going to allow them to win by keep on doing that. Why don't you just move? Well, I don't want to move. I want to. So you're expecting them to change, right? Because you're obviously showing that you're not going to change. So then why would you expect them to change? It's like talking to somebody. Said, well, Dominic, that person's really mean. I said, okay, so you're really kind. Are you going to change to be mean? Well, no. So then how are you going to understand them when they choose to change from being mean to being kind? I said, that's too big of a leap. Humans are so fucking stupid. We all are. That's the funny part. And then we yap about fucking moronic fucking conversations. You know, the classic insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. So then why do people keep going to religions or synagogues? And then they start dividing themselves. Well, the Jews. Who the fuck are you talking about the Jews? We're one race. We're a human race. Forget about the being part. The human race is one fucking race. Now, you can get into the subdirectories of, well, we all have different blood types. Yeah, we do, but there's groups of people that have different blood types, and there's a reason for that.
It's time, that time again, to pull out some words of wisdom from the wisdom bucket.
Bring it up, buddy. I'm with you 100%. Go ahead. Yeah. Well done, by the way. Let's put the word in bed after we read it.
Insight from the Dalai Lama. If you are hopeful and determined, you will always find some measure of success. Winning the gold medal does not matter. You will have tried your best.
in bed. There you go. It's a nice sentiment. Doesn't mean everybody practices that, but yes, very true.
So I should play tennis and compete and do my best, and don't think of winning or losing. Just, yes, don't think about the result, but think about the journey, the struggle, the
Well,
battle.
Jaro, you can think of many different outcomes in tennis. One outcome could be, I really enjoy playing tennis with Dominic. That could be one outcome. I really enjoy the drive that I did to go play tennis. Sometimes what we get attached to is, and that's why it becomes an addiction, we give up all our other attachments for just one. So when a person only just wants to win, forget about how to lose, they'll even forget about how they won. So that becomes now an addiction. So that one outcome overshadows all the other ones. So for you to play tennis, you've done many things. You've expended, you probably enjoy the fact that you've been creative and learned how to extend the arm on your tennis racket. That's one way. You probably try to look for different places to play tennis. That's another way. But for some people, it's just, this is the way I go to work. I don't deviate from it. So they're stuck. And then this is where familiarity breeds contempt. So when a person finally achieves something, they eventually resent it because they've never used their creativity just to try it different ways. So whether it's tennis, how you kiss your girlfriend, how you hug your mother, there's different ways you surprise your mother. And for me, it makes me feel good when I can do something different for my mother. She might say, well, but I didn't ask. I said, Mom, that's why it's different. I don't always expect to be told what to do. And even that, I would like other people to tell me how to do things sometimes differently. We are very creative and logical beings. And if we don't exercise it, like we don't do, say, Jaro, say you play tennis for 30 years and you've always just used your right hand for all your activities, you're eventually going to be very depressed with your left side. This is why there's a balancing act that most of us, and I say most of us because I'm being very general here because I'm guessing, deprive ourselves. You know, for me, if I lived in a world where everybody was mean and rude, I would probably be creative and be very kind. Because I know I'm surrounding myself with a lot of people that are very naive, I have a lot of playroom. I could either be very nice and they could say, oh, Dominic, all that crap about being spiritual and kind, I don't want to hear it. I said, okay, so when I talk like an idiot and I talk like, oh, you piece of shit, this and that, they get a giggle. I said, so you do have a choice and you do have a preference. Tells me a lot more about the person than it does about me. But then again, I already know me, the parts that I'm becoming aware of. Now, somebody could say, well, Dominic, you know, you can be kind. I never realized this was just about me. What do you mean? Because if it was just about me, I'm not the one that's fueling all the wars. This is a collective issue here. And in that collectiveness, there's many parts. And I don't mind investigating all the different parts. This is why when you say, okay, Dominic, I'm going to do quote of the day. Why did you have to mention who wrote it? It's a question for you. Is it important for you to put your name on anything? I find it very egotistical when I hear somebody says, I wrote a book and I got to put that on PhD. I said, I don't give a shit who you are. I said, I'm interested in buying the book for the purpose of what the message is. But if you think it's just about your words, then why don't you write it 1,000 times? Dominic Tersini, Dominic Tersini, Dominic Tersini. So for you, you read quote of the day. Why did you have to say who wrote it? And did he even write it? There's a good chance he did just use his name, like Michael Jordan. Hey, I use Gillette. Who's to say he even uses it? Ponder that, Jaro. Do you feel that you're representing the Dalai Lama when you say, like even me, when I say the word Dalai Lama, I only do that just to be an agitator. I personally don't give a damn who he is, but other people must. Now, my question is, so what does he stand for? And then they might tell me, I said, okay, now my next question, the more important question, what do you stand for? Because I've heard you do nothing more than quoting somebody else. What do you stand for? What did you learn today? What did you fail to understand for you today? It's all about you. If a person is going to be egotistical, Be the best you can be. Be rational and egotistical. Don't be lazy. Well, Dominic, okay, I should have cared about that other person. No. Be honest. Be rational. Why did you steal from that person? Well, because it was easy. Okay. Why did you actually help that lady across the street? Because it was easy. It made me feel good. I said, so it's all about you. So when you see a person peddling for money, you give them money. Okay. Yes. Okay. So when you go to church, do you give money? Well, yes. When there's time to vote, you just vote. I said, you're being lazy. What's the reason why you do all of that? What's the feeling behind all of that? What's the thinking behind all of that? Why? Because I can't grasp just your action. This is beyond the world of this material. What's the thought behind it? Because if everything, Jaro, was about the material, everything was about the material and doing, we wouldn't have books. Because there's messages in books. I'm not interested in the cover of the book. I might want to quickly decide what part of the book I want to read, because a lot of books aren't usually produced linearly. They usually have the back in the middle, sometimes or in the front. So I want to see I want to see inside the book and say, okay, we're going to be talking about this topic. And then I flip to that and I'm like, okay, so are you talking about that? Or are you just using that as a clickbait? And then you just yap about whatever. Because it's called a rant. And books are notorious for rants. And they talk about me. Well, Dom, when I traveled through India, I got to meet a couple of monks. Oh, it's all about you. When I did ayahuasca. Okay, so then are you producing the book to be a messenger for the rest of the people? Or are you only producing a book because you're hoping for other people to buy books so you can earn money and then continue your own little ways? Would we offer books for free? Freedom of speech. Would we offer books for free? Now, people say, well, the Bible's free. I said, no, it's not. Every book that's ever produced the Bible, somebody's being charged for it. I said, but is it it might be the most read book, but is it the most comprehended book? Do people truly grasp? Because, when I hear Rami and all these guys, they quote the Bible. I said, so you're a parrot. But what do you understand? Because I don't need to hear that the Bible. Just say a phrase. I don't need to hear you say to me, well, Dominic, I was talking to another guy. Just put it in your own flavor. This is me being opinion, obviously. When you get a tennis racket and you buy a tennis racket, it's made by a manufacturer, and you decide to buy a sticker that was made by another manufacturer, but you personalize it because you're trying to make it you, even though all those are made by other people. So when you read something, make it you. Don't make it, well, Dominic, this is what my priest says. I don't fucking care. If I cared about what the priest had to say, I'd be talking to him. I'd be using his name, not priest, his name. I don't think that's even a Dalai Lama name. That's why I don't worry about what I'm saying, because I'm not giving energy to his mother's given name. He wants to pretend, oh, yeah, Dom, I'm going to change my name. I'm going to call myself an African name. I did an ayahuasca experiment. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But do you shed a tear for the plight of the humanity, and not just what you see poor and rich? It's the naivety of humanity, and they defend it to no end. To no end. How many people will actually defend flat Earth, let alone global? But meanwhile, I said, do you see anything here that's up there? Well, no. So how can you make that big leap and thinking that we must also be on a ball when there's no trees up there and there's nothing man-made up there? Well, Dominic, you're guessing at this point, and you're purposely picking an opposite side to guess. It's like talking about heaven. Could the clouds literally be nothing but entities that float around? We just don't grasp that. Could trees literally communicate and they giggle at us on a regular basis? Could be. Could we pose that ideal? Maybe. But we're too busy quoting, well, the human race that's very destructive, how can we better be in harmonize with ourselves at the expense of the rest of the world? Because I've said it jokingly, Jaro, but I'm being sincere when I say it. What would the animals have to say to a mediator and say, well, this is the shit that the human race did to us? Well, you're the 13th species that's actually complained today. What do you mean? Trees are complained, the rivers are complained, the clouds are complained. Clouds didn't complain as much because we're up in the air and they only fly a couple of things up there. Oceans of complaint, plants of complaint. But meanwhile, humans, what do they complain about? Do they complain about animals? No. They complain about other human beings.
Hmm.
They're not, they say, well, I don't like those weeds in my garden. Yeah, because you don't understand how everything works. Well, we should save the oceans. Really? Are you going to be using a boat to get there? It's like when people debate about, well, I don't agree with people that do abortion, so I think we should kill them and jail them. Really? So where's your empathy and your compassion there? Dalai Lama, do you tell your monks to go around having sex with other people to reproduce, or are they supposed to do celibacy? So now, should we be planting more trees or making sure that we have, trees that can't reproduce? Dolly, you and the Pope can both fuck off. And I tell you that straight out, fuck off. I'll meet you in another realm and I'll tell you something else then. But right here, right now, you're just encouraging other people that are fucking asleep. So you're preaching to the naive and you're saying blissful because, hey, Dalai Lama says, well, people work in a factory. If they found out everything was made by sweatshops, would they still work in the factory? Yes, they would. So Dominic, I already know most people are asleep and they're going to quote me, but they're not going to do nothing about it. So shouldn't I at least get my riches? So you've taken your settlement too. Yes, Dom, I have. And I'm pretty sure, Dom, given the opportunity, would you do the same thing? Yes. But I'm still allowed to talk about it. This is why, Jaro, I say I'm okay with my hypocrisy. When most people don't talk the way I've shared, is they're not okay with it. So they figured, well, I want to pretend that I have a functional family, but meanwhile, I'm very dysfunctional. This is why when Rami says, well, you're angry. I said, because Rami, I've never seen you ever fucking step out of your indifference. You have this populist fucking view of life. Now fuck off. I don't give a shit how many fucking kids you have. You're going to fail them in many ways. And the only way he's going to know that is if he questions himself, not defend himself by questioning me. Same with Mike, another fucking idiot. I'm okay with calling people idiots, Jaro, because for me to call somebody an idiot, what do you think that makes me? A bigger idiot. But I don't go around saying, well, everybody's blessed. So what am I trying to think? That I'm the most blessed? Look at me. I'm the Dalai Lama. I'm Jesus Christ. I'm Muhammad. I'm Buddha. And I'm okay with people being amused by me because I'm amused too. But again, you said a very nice speech today with whoever wrote that. Most of us, more times than not, are lazy. Well, why did Dominic say talk the way he did? Why did Jaro quote the Buddha? Why did Jaro, in this case, the Dalai Lama? Does that bring you value? Well, it makes me feel good when I use the name Dalai Lama. Oh, okay, so we're like a dog. If I blow a whistle, the dog will know to come get food. That's exactly what you're doing. You feel good knowing that you said the word Dalai Lama because in your mind, could be, or your heart, whatever you want to use, because everybody likes to go either from their brain to their heart, opposed to being intuitive or insightful with all the different receivers. What value does it bring to you? It's a simple question because it's not a clever question on my part thinking, well, I'm going to catch Jaro. No, as long as Jaro sees, well, I take value in putting one guy on a pedestal, which is the Dalai Lama. I'm not saying you're doing that, Jaro, but at the same time, but I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like what he stands for. Oh, okay. So in the front of the house, you show everybody that you are a kind person, but behind the house, you make yourself sound like I hate people. Well, then why don't you bring them both in the middle of the house and let people come into your house and say, okay, so I have many ways of expressing myself. Yes. And I'm open about it. So there's really no contradiction there. I'm not going to tell people I'm an honest person and behind closed doors, I'm a crooked person. No, I already know I'm crooked. That's why I'm in this forum. Back to what you were talking about. Are we inherently good? In moments, yes. Are we inherently bad? Yes. We inherit things, but those aren't us. I'm not responsible for my father, but do I pick up some of his traits, both biology, Being in his energy, yes, but I still have to take accountability when I'm responding to my circumstances, opposed to reacting. Reacting is another version of being lazy, Jaro. When a person defends himself, that's reaction. When a person's attacking another person, that's very reactive. I do it. I do it for the premise of seeing how my emotions are developed. Other people say, well, Dominic, I took it personally. I said, you just got caught up in the crossfire. You're insignificant to me. And I like to think in my world, I'm significant. But when it comes to more than just me, I'm insignificant. Well, Dominic, I got to lead. I said, then lead for yourself. Because if you see the guru, then you misinterpret yourself. Because the guru is within you. What you'll see of others is a light, a halo, something. Maybe even a thought. You might not even see a visual apparatus such as, oh, I see a halo over Gyro, or I hear a thought that you share with me, Gyro, and I'm like, it came out of his fingers or it came out of his mouth, but did it originate from a source that he picked it up, or did you have to hear it from hearsay from somebody that wrote it or somebody that said it? See, I don't like quoting people. I don't enjoy it at all because it doesn't bring me value. I'm not here to say, oh, Jaro, the guy down the street, it's a famous guy. You don't mind if I tell you his name, right? Because he's really famous, you know. Well, Dom, why is he famous? What do you mean? Well, he's rich. Oh, is that what you want to be? Well, it would have to be, because there's no way you're going to tell me somebody's famous down the street if you didn't think that you're not famous or you want to be famous, lack. Opposed to, no, I'm with you today, Jaro. Well, why would I care about who the Dalai Lama is? I only do that because I'm realizing, what the fuck are we yapping about? And I've gone on for about another hour. I've probably gone on about an hour and 10 minutes about nonsense. Because most people, they're not here to grasp their senses. So this is nonsense. It's like common sense. If most people believe pretending to be kind is common, that's the common sense. If people believe killing other people because I don't want to be killed, hence in Germany, that was the common sense. But people imply common sense. It's the right thing to do. It's the energetic thing to do. But you don't see the essence to it and say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to harm another human being. But the irony is, I do harm another human being, whether the way I talk and all that. Am I willing to take accountability? Yes. But at least the way I talk, that person can get up again in the morning. But shooting another person, or the potential of shooting another person, you're denying them of experiencing the Buddha nature. Unless you're there to end it. Well, then, after you shoot them, are you going to turn the gun towards you? What do you mean? Do unto others as you do to yourself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. What is the word love? Love energetically is unconditional. How can you be loving when you're conditional? So when I love my mother, am I loving her, or am I being obligated and duty bound? Now, when I choose to do something because I just want to, because she's my mother, well, Dominic, have you done that with a stranger? Well, yes. Well, then you're showing love to yourself. You don't have to be in the presence of your mother to see that. It's easy to love your own, because a lot of time that love is not love, it's obligation and duty. Could you kill another human being and not make it personal? If you say yes, then you understand what love is. That's a tough one to go around, Jaro, because most people say, but I don't want to kill anybody. I said, could you do it and not make it personal? Hence why people, when they go to war, I didn't make it personal. But when somebody kills somebody that you loved, are you okay with that? Well, not. I said, well, now what you did before, it's not love then. Because you should be able to receive it the exact same way you gave. This is why you have people that preach shit like the Dalai Lama preaches, because humanity doesn't look inwards. They're still looking for an outside written work or coming out of somebody's mouth, not even realizing, but where is the voice coming from their mouth? I just see it moving, but where's it literally coming from? When you have a thought, where's it stored? You honestly think thoughts are stored in your brain? Why is it when scientists finally, some of them enough that gives messages and say, when a person dies, we weigh them. There's a part of them that's missing weight-wise. We can gauge it a little bit by weight, but we still can't see the aura or the energy. We're guessing when we use words like aura, the ether. Does the Dalai Lama talk about the ether? Does he talk about energy? Does he talk about, Gerald, did you hear from the Dalai Lama ever talking about the words that I use? I don't see him on the objects. Have you ever heard him talk that way? Do you think he's even evolved to talk that way? Or is he here to anchor this realm and keep people asleep? And you know something? Best way to keep somebody asleep is from another person that doesn't even know he's asleep. So now, when he's in the Buddha form, Buddha nature, do you think he's trying to be the Christ anointed? When I say anointed, when you're living with a whole bunch of people that are asleep and you choose to wake up, you're anointed now. Anointed for what? To maybe be a student? People want nirvana. What people really want on earth is to be the best they can be, but not settle for the ideal. Well, am I the best for me, or do I want accolades from other people? Jaro, I want you to quit everything you're doing. I want you to idolize me. That's what people are saying, because that's what they got from Jesus. Well, you know something, Dom? I don't know what Jesus ever wrote, which he didn't, or whatever he said, because I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. I don't even know his tone. He could have been yelling like a little banshee and say, you guys are all idiots. But what do people remember of him? His name. And then they quote him because they feel good knowing that, you know something? I went to Home Depot the other day there, and I asked a gentleman, do you know where the screws are, as I'm in the electrical section? He said, I know exactly what island it is in. So he has the capacity to actually associate to where different things are in the store. That's what a churchgoer does, or a Buddhist does. I can quote exactly where in the book that is. But do you understand who made the bolt? Well, not really. Do you understand who shipped it? Well, not really. So you just work here, right? Well, yeah. Okay, so I wouldn't say that to him because I'm not that kind of crusp. No different. I don't go to a church and start ripping into people. But when people are outside of the church, it's fair game now. When you're outside of that mosque, it's fair game now. What do you mean? Because you're living in a bigger world now. You're living in what we call God's world. You want to hide in some sort of cave? You want to go to some mosque? You want to go to some temple and say, oh, I'm going to gong a ball. Shh, we're in the library, Jaro. You got to keep quiet because we're all wearing our robes right now. I've just meditated for 3 weeks and I'm the monk. I shaved my head. I even shaved my pubic hairs. I got to make sure my balls are nice and shiny. So there I am, but I'm a man. Dare not ever see a woman that says, okay, so do I have to be a monk too? Well, you're a monkette. You're a monkette. Jaro, if there's beings out there, they would say, at least Dominic, you were amused the fact that you're our bitch. I said, that's true. And I'm only guessing when I say the word true, by the way. Dare not meet any of these guys. If any of my buddies ever became monks, I would say, fucking please come to me so I can rip a new fucking hole in you. That's right up there when a guy says, I'm 60 years old, I want to have a child with a 20-year-old. I said, please come over here so I can rip a hole in you. Not to say that people have done that in history. A lot of people have done that. But we're still allowed to rip holes into people. Because if they're truly true to themselves, like a wheel, no matter what I throw at them, it will show whether or not they're true to their beliefs, whether or not I agree or disagree with it. Because I'm here to learn something. Well, that guy's a crooked person. No matter what I tell him, I said, well, you know something? Are you really harming people? Dominic, I don't have to defend myself. So then you have no problem sharing with me. Yes, I purposely rip people off. That's my purpose. I have this beautiful house because I do that. Oh, okay. I'm okay with it, Jaro. But most people would have a difficult time because they want to see somebody either look the part, think about a monk, and then they read a couple of books. And they say, well, Dominic, am I on my own spiritual journey? I'm pursuing nirvana. Okay, so when are you going to become a Buddhagata and try to help humanity? What do you mean? Well, it's easy to help the people that come to you. What about the people that don't want to come to you? How do you assist them? By challenging them in their own beliefs. It's not for me to change them. Now, somebody could turn around and say to me, well, Dominic, what about you? I said, I do that quite well on my own. But I'm always willing to hear other people say, well, Dominic, I think you're full of shit. Okay, we're on the same page. Just make sure you're being a Kleenex because my pages have shit on it. I went on gyro. My apologies. Would you mind? I don't want to tell you what to do, but if you want to do another quote, please.
I appreciate when I read from this book and I opened up to depression and I read it out
Mhm.
and you pointed out that's just about me.
Mhm.
And I wondered, okay,